Hi friends, this is Dr. Arun Kalyanasundaram. I know it's been a couple of months since we have made a video, and so apologies, I've been kind of slacking off. So today I want to talk to you about something that's very personal and something that I've been doing for the last couple of months. You've all heard of intermittent fasting, which is where you fast for a prolonged period and then you try and get all your calories of food during during a restricted period of time. So I've been kind of doing this for the last several months, and a lot of things came up. I got a lot of criticism from well-intentioned friends, family, and whatnot. So I thought, let me kind of do this video to tell people as to why I do what I do, and of course your comments and feedback is always welcome. The first criticism that I often hear is that intermittent fasting or any kind of a time restricted meal activity is very unnatural. So if you look at human species from an evolutionary standpoint, I mean, just go back to when we were hunter gatherers, etc. This whole concept of having 3 square meals a day was kind of a very recent something that we just came up with. Going back, I'm pretty sure hunter gatherers didn't have the luxury of having 3 full meals or even more. People ate when they could. The rest of the time essentially was what we call people were in starvation mode or they were fasting. So we have done this over millennia, and all the recent I would say the 3 meals or more meals is the post-industrial age thing that we have come to get so used to. Now, if you also think about it, like almost every major religion, be it Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, all religions have this period when the followers of the religion do undergo a fast for some religious reason. Now this is kind of a cleanse or whatever you want to call it, and it really does help not only just restrict your calories, but also really takes through a whole lot of other benefits that I want to touch upon in the rest of this talk. But the first myth I wanted to dispel was that there's nothing unnatural about intermittent fasting, your body fat. And interestingly, it's very difficult to get, typically what happens is that you are not getting energy from both sources at the same time. So by virtue of just ensuring that you have a constant supply of food through what we eat, you are essentially preventing the body from metabolizing its own fat and the reserves that it has. So many times people ask, okay, why don't I lose weight? I'm not, I eat really healthy, or I don't eat any junk food, etc. Number one, we underestimate grossly what we eat. Number two, by essentially ensuring that you don't leave any time in between your meals, like when you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and oftentimes you hardly even have a 12-hour fasting state. And it takes at least 12 hours before which the effect of the external food goes away, and then your insulin level really comes down, and then you start burning fat, etc. from your body. So for you to enter this non-fed state, you have to at least start for 16 hours. And oftentimes, unfortunately, our breakfast is cereals or something that's very carb rich. So you are essentially denying the body the ability to burn what it needs to do. So I think and it's not just what I think. It's science has pretty much shown us that you need to at least fast for 12 plus hours, and typically around 16 hours after about 16 hours of fasting is when you are entering the state where the body starts to use up the resources that is stored in our body as fat. And that's when you really enter the mode when you can start burning these calories. So this is an important concept for us to understand. So if you're constantly eating whatever it is, you're never going to let the body get into this state of fasting. So I'm going to talk about OMAD, or 1 meal a day. This is a very extreme form of intermittent fasting, and I'm not saying that I advocate this for everybody, but there are some definite health benefits in terms of doing this, and there are other benefits too. So first of all, simplicity. it really makes your life simple. Most people, if you think about it, you start planning about, okay, what am I going to have for breakfast? Oh, let's do this for lunch. I'm going to do this for dinner, etc., etc. And then it's a constant cycle of either planning for food or actually indulging in food, or getting into the post-food slump that we often get into. So just eating one meal a day really simplifies it. Your food, your life doesn't revolve around the food that you eat. The classic or the extreme version is where you do 23 hours of starvation and then 1 hour of where you consume essentially all the calories. It could be a little bit challenging. So there is no magic in 23-1 or 16-8 or whatever it is. The whole idea is that you want to restrict it to a particular time that you can manage and you can live with. Now, what's a big advantage of this? Fasting really increases your insulin sensitivity. So, and why does this matter? A lot of the chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, whatnot, cancers, etc., can be attributed to low insulin sensitivity. So if there is a natural way for you to enhance this, then I think absolutely everyone should. We all look for the easy pill, right? I mean, I'm going to eat what I want, I'm going to do what I want, I'm not going to exercise, and I'm just going to go pop a pill. Now, while this might sound very appealing, you're not really addressing the root cause. And if you can do it in a natural way without taking medications or anything artificial, I think that's a much better way to be. A couple of other benefits. It definitely improves your fat loss. So a lot of people are like, oh, I just can't get rid of this stubborn fat in my belly and whatnot, etc. By virtue of just essentially starving yourself or getting into the fasting mode or the non-fed state, as I would like to call it, you are definitely enhancing your fat loss. The next big one is it significantly reduces the inflammation in your body. Now, in the last, I would say, decade or more, there's been a lot of buzz about inflammation. Almost every chronic disease has been tied to inflammation, including heart disease. I'm a cardiologist, so I'm kind of speaking against my own best interest here, but I will tell you this. Inflammation is bad, so if you can actually improve or rather reduce inflammation or improve your anti-inflammatory status in the body, that's an absolute thing, that's a win. Now, the other side benefit that you might notice is that it improves your cognition, the ability to focus, and your memory. So these are all things that I think in the long term matter a lot as the population ages, and we've been noticing that people have dementia, those are scary diseases really, because you almost have no control. So the best way to do it is, if there's anything that can help prevent it, then more power to it. So there's a definite tangible advantage in terms of people that do undergo intermittent fasting and who have much more disciplined lives than those that don't. So one of the other big advantages of intermittent fasting is that it enhances autophagy. So as our cells get older, there's a process by which the body kind of cleanses itself, like some of the old cells get eaten out by certain other cells in the body, etc. So as we get older, these things don't happen in a reliable fashion, and that's been one of the most important reasons why we age. And starvation essentially is a very, very good way of, it's probably the best anti-aging thing that you could do. In fact, there have been very, very elegant animal studies where, essentially mice that were starved lived a lot longer than those that were well fed. Again, I'm not saying that humans are mice, but the same principles still apply. I mean, we are not that different. We clearly know that being starved or being devoid of food for a long time definitely enhances autophagy. Now, a couple of other incidental advantages is that it does kind of reduce the amount of, it kind of also starves your bad gut bacteria. So that's one of the, I would say, fringe benefits that you get with intermittent fasting. And a few other points to consider is that it definitely enhances your basal metabolic rate, which is like when you do nothing, how many calories are you spending, right? So when you have a higher basal metabolic rate, you're going to burn more calories doing nothing compared to when you have a lower basal metabolic rate. I mean, oftentimes people complain about this. Oh, I have a low basal metabolic rate, so I don't eat anything. I just keep gaining weight. No, this is a very good way of doing this. It also enhances growth hormone naturally without any kind of supplements, and it can help improve your lean muscle mass. And finally, I do think, I mean, it certainly takes discipline. It's not for everyone, and I'm not saying you should go out and say, I'm going to just eat once a day from now on, but it's something that's worth considering. Even if you can't do it on a regular basis or on a daily basis, it's something that you should consider doing, perhaps on a weekly basis, perhaps, a couple of times in a month. Do what you can, and whether it's for religious reasons or whether it's for health reasons. I mean, obviously we've just talked about the health reasons here. So there are lots of reasons why I think intermittent fasting is a good way for you to not just lose weight, you're going to be healthier, you're going to be relatively disease proof, and hopefully you're going to live longer. And finally, last but not the least, I think it also enhances your mental acumen and also your discipline, because you are learning to say no to stuff that routinely tempts you just because it's not your time to eat. So anyway, friends, it was great talking about intermittent fasting. And Omad, I'm sure you have questions, so feel free to drop in questions or any comments, suggestions. Thank you very much.